I have a colleague, he teaches biology. I saw him teaching learners how to do what? How to prepare local brew.
Okay, so today we have our guest in this podcast for today. We're going to talk about CBC in Uganda. CBC means Competence-Based Curriculum. This was rolled out in Uganda a few years ago, and we are into the implementation. We just want to get an idea on how this CBC works, what it is, how it's being rolled over, the kind of confusion that comes with it, so that we can get some learning and pass some knowledge out there. On the show, we have our guest, Ms. Racheal Nyamigisha, who is an education officer and a specialist in this field. We also have Belinda Nachio, for whom we are going to be interacting with Mrs. Nyamigisha, Racheal. So definitely just a small background that CBC has been a very interesting kind of educational system. We saw it being rolled out in Kenya. It's also being rolled out in Uganda. We see it in the books, but now we're looking at it now being implemented practically. So we'd like to see the impact on the learners, the teachers, and basically the parents. I don't know what you think, Belinda, but for me, I'm looking at it in a way that how is it rolling out, yeah, for these people, and including the larger stakeholders. Yeah.
I have a question. Very many people would want to ask about CBC. A person could ask what CBC means, not competency-based curriculum, but what it means generally, as a general definition.
CBC, actually, it's one of the biggest education reforms that has ever happened in Uganda in the last, I think, 20 years. Because CBC is the competence-based curriculum. It is a shift from content to critical thinking, critical understanding. Learners are learners able to think critically. Without the teacher coming to class, explaining, giving notes, dictating notes for the learners, and then giving exercises. No, this one is for the learners to understand critically. I can take you back to the vision of this CBC. Before the vision, the people that came up with this CBC, what were they thinking? Allow me to read it for you. The vision, the vision is the goal is to produce work-ready Ugandans who can apply knowledge to real-life problems. Work-ready Ugandans who can apply knowledge to real-life problems, like real-life problems a normal Ugandan is facing. Problems, for example, unemployment. Can a learner solve that unemployment challenge? That is why CBC is here. We thank the government of Uganda that it was implemented, because, by the way, the first learners to sit for the exams were in 2024. That means it was implemented for the learners to sit, the senior ones up to senior 4. They sat in 2020 up to 2024. That was the first group. And according to the NAPE is the National Assessment for Performance in Education in Uganda. It is managed by the UNEB, the National Examinations Board. Said that these learners were the most critical thinkers they had ever seen in 2024. That's why I'm saying that the new curriculum, competence-based curriculum, is a blessing to Ugandans.
Okay, so it being a blessing, so let's try to look out on how the rollout has been. I think the first time I heard about this CBC, curriculum. Personally, having come from the
Old one.
old one, I studied in Kenya, 844 system, then we came to Uganda, then we had the other kind of system, you go and read, cram something, reproduce it. So now, most probably, the rollout, definitely as we've been following up, we've been seeing certain scenarios where challenges have been there. What's this rollout like? Is it something that is practical, or the practicability of the rollout itself is getting some blockages, or how are they actually rolling it out from training to the students and this?
Well, the rollout is quite interesting. First of all, it is learner-centered. Okay? We focus so much on the learner. We no longer call them students like the old curriculum. We call them learners.
So now when I was there, I would be called a learner, not a student.
You're now a learner. You're not a student.
So what's the difference between a learner and a student?
Oh, thank you very much. A student is this one that is taught everything. A learner is someone who makes research, goes an extra mile of learning. By the way, a learner, us even teachers, we learn from the learners. But a student, you can't learn from a student. A student is just... You give the student everything. But a learners even challenge us. A learner can challenge because why? They have been given that opportunity to make research, to discuss, to think. There is project work. There are continuous assessment items. There are activities of integration. There is everything. Project work. Learners think for themselves. Remember us, the teachers of these days, who are these teachers who are taught the old curriculum. So we look at learners and we are really impressed, you know. So we learn from them as much as they learn from us. And by the way, we are not teachers. No, we don't teach. We guide them, okay? We guide them, we learn from them as much as they learn from us. So back to your question, the rollout from 2020, we are now in 2026. Actually, now we are getting the first cohort to sit the USCE exams for the new curriculum. Yes, they're sitting this year. Yes, please. Although it's not yet called the new curriculum, the CBC on A level, it is called the improvised curriculum. They are still improvised. They haven't come up with like the way the old curriculum is, like then for the old ordinary level is organized, then for A level is still improvised. We are there.
There were also some rumors that A level is going to be scrapped. Is that true?
Yeah, there were rumors, but definitely it wasn't true. Because imagine a learner can't study the new curriculum or level.
So meaning that there's been a gap in this whole implementation thing and rollout. Now that you're saying that it's not fully rolled out, you still have some people who are in the old syllabus and people who are in the new one. So what you're saying that we still have that gap in between the education system. It's not fully...
In a moment. Are you saying you studied in Kenya, right?
Yes.
Is it true that in Kenya people only end in Form 4 then they go for campus?
Yes, true. So in Kenya that was the old system.
That was the old system.
The 844 system. So the Kenya has also rolled out the CBC. But
In
their
2017.
CBC is now fully rolled out. They no longer say that you see I am in primary 1 or primary 2. There's no more senior 1, senior 3. They are now using grades. I mean grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3, so they are CBC. However, on our side, seems like maybe our rollout still has some gap in terms of...
Kenyan or Ugandan?
Ugandan. So I was just trying to... yes.
Yeah, sure. There is a very, very, very big gap. The vision, now what was promised and what is happening, those are two different things. Yes, the promise was there, the CBC was implemented and teachers, schools are implementing it. Now there is the reality. The reality.
Which year was it implemented? When was CBC discovered, and then when was it implemented?
It was discovered...
or when was the idea put in place?
The people who joined university who offered the education course in university starting with 2011 were taught about the new curriculum,
So it has
the
been
competence-based curriculum.
some good
They were taught to go and teach it. Okay. However, when they came into the field, because university education is for 3 years, let's say if you're in university 2011, by 2016, 2015, you're graduating. So when they came into the real world, they were still teaching the old curriculum. So most of those learners were very happy when they introduced the CBC in 2020. By the end of 2019 and then the beginning of 2020, teachers were called for trainings, they were trained, and it was surely implemented in schools.
But there was an interruption of COVID.
Yes, there was interruption of COVID, and rumor, people started, we don't think now it is done, it is gone. But let me tell you something. This service was introduced by the Ministry of Education, okay? By the First Lady, okay? So the CBC came, people were arguing, were here and there, but it came to stay. It was here to stay. So in 2020, it was implemented where COVID came in, more trainings were called upon, people went for trainings, and here we are. 6 years later.
So,
yes, please.
What happens to these teachers, the teachers that went to university below 2011 and did not receive that CBC?
That's no. All teachers were trained. It was a call by the Ministry of Education, government. All teachers, be private, all teachers, they had training centers. All teachers were trained, yes.
So Racheal, you're saying that all teachers were trained, but seems like there's a gap from what we are seeing, yeah? That most probably there could be the training centers which were set up by government, yeah? But normally the question that lingers out there is that did actually these teachers attend these trainings? Because you see, the implementation seems to differ from actually what was.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, all teachers. All teachers. Why? Because it was a government call. The government of Uganda made the call, and all teachers had to be represented at all schools had to be represented at all those training centers. It was a must, to the point that you had to present your school ID, your worker's ID. And by the way, some teachers were arrested. Some directors, head teachers were arrested. 2020 was a very serious year. Some people thought these are Ugandan programs. They will come, they will go, we shall eventually go back. But later on, they realized that this was serious. The ministry was serious. Each and every, not all teachers were trained. They had sampling. They used to sample. Yeah? Some teachers from centers, from schools, would go study and then come and teach their colleagues that they had left at school. The training was for almost 2 years, on and off, on and off, on and off. I think here in Kampala we had Kololo SS training centers. There was Chibuli, those big schools. There was a school in Nabingo, yes. All schools were trained.
Okay.
Training was there.
So now then there was the training. Then we see that coincidentally, what did these kids actually gain out of this training? Did they actually pick and really understand exactly what was required of them? And because now it seems like if we talk about what the teacher is actually carrying to deliver to the learners, not students, and what actually is supposed to be, because by then it will be like a teacher comes with the blackboard, with the chalk, and then he's writing, then expects you to cram it, and then reproduce it. So in my head now, I keep on wondering that what are exactly these teachers carrying that they come to present in class when I appear in class?
Well, it's a process. It's a process. It is a shift from what to remember to what to do. Okay? We teach these learners to remember. We used to teach these learners to remember. But now we teach these learners to do. What can a learner do? And how can a learner do that something? In the new curriculum, we have what we call project work. Project work, continuous assessment items, activities of integration, and so on. A few of those carry 20% of the final marks at after senior 4 at UNEB. So that means that they sit UNEB for 80%, and then this other 20, it is monitored. We see, can a learner do some project work? Can a learner think for themselves? Can a learner group work? Can a learner interact? Can a learner do something? Can a learner make research? So most teachers found it challenging. Some of them, I don't know whether they're still there, that are still using the old curriculum. I know they are there, but they are doing a disservice to these learners, because learners are supposed to think for themselves, okay? Think for them. A teacher comes in as a supervisor. How have you done that? How was this? Learners are supposed to think for themselves. Even the topics changed. An example of English, we used to study nouns, topic nouns, topic pronouns, but things changed. The topics now are food, my family life, the environment, using technology, computer IT, and
Is
so
it the reason now everyone is, the current generation, everyone is an addict of computers and phones and social media?
I have a few friends of mine who are still in secondary who would come home with work and like help me with their phone and make research. But that person is not thinking. That person is putting that work into AI, and AI is giving them the answers.
Now we're having a challenge with AI, but this CBC was designed for learners to think for themselves. That's why when it had just started, they would tell learners to come to school with laptops, which is a challenge as well. Laptops, phones, whatnot, to do research for themselves. But now learners are misusing it. Now AI has become the
It just runs the whole question.
I thought AI is coming in to support. Most probably, maybe it could be misused in terms of how it's being used by the so-called learners. But can't these learners use AI to think for themselves? Isn't it an innovation, other than saying that it's providing you an answer?
AI is good, but when you're given, even as when you're given coursework, just get the whole statement, run it through AI. AI gives you everything, and sometimes students don't even read the context that AI has given, they just submit. But some people that really enjoy or learn whatever they're doing, they will just go. If AI has given them the answers, they will go read whatever AI has given them, remove some, edit some, and then give you the final answer, the final work to the supervisor or the lecturer.
I think issues concerning the CBC, it is supposed to make these learners get practical skills for life, practical skills. But when AI comes in, I think it is, I'm not trying to badmouth AI, but for these learners, senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, I think AI is not good for their brains, okay? It does all the work, and it does not give them chance to think, to get into the practical world, to think and do work for themselves, by the way. I don't think AI is good for the education. But anyway.
Now for a young person, in case they put into AI and they give them the answers, they will just copy, take back to the teacher, and work's done. Like the older people, they'll be like, no, I have to read through, make edits, and then that's when I'll submit the work.
However, the good thing with CBC, you don't just make research and submit. You have to present. You have to discuss. You have to act. We have methodologies. We have role plays. Now, AI can't do a role play for you. AI can't debate for you. AI can't answer any quiz for you, No. Learners have to be hands-on. If it is studying about environment and pollution, a learner can go and get any AI work about environment and pollution. But can you take that learner outside the classroom to the environment? Can the learner do what he got from AI? Practical skills. Practical skills are what
in scenarios where a learner overthinks for beyond what these teachers expect, and it comes out to something very complicated that a teacher would not even imagine, but actually it's reality. So our teachers holding that mandate to appreciate that what you're putting in out of this candidate or this student or this learner you're calling is actually something that is actually outstanding. Because then we also have the component of AI. For me, definitely, I love AI, and the world is moving. Yeah. The only problem is most probably the way we are utilizing AI. So the question is that now, when I'm still trying to understand here on this kind of teachers, we have most probably that we have those generation of teachers that actually don't even know how to use these computers themselves. Yeah. Okay? Maybe he has never seen a computer, doesn't even know how to type. Absolutely. And then you find this learner who is top notch. Yeah. So then, how will these teachers be able to guide these kids in terms of practicability and continuous training? You see, that's why I get confused now.
That is where assessment comes in.
But the person assessing you, sorry to cut you short, the person who is assessing you does not understand these tools.
That is where, let me say something about assessment. Previously, we used to mark learners, you mark 5 out of 20. Repeat, do correction, see me. But now assessment we score. We no longer call it marking, we call it scoring. We score these learners under what we call as RACE, RACE, relevancy, accuracy, coherency, and exception. Is the learner exception? That is why you can, when a learner does something, because we are teachers, we are not gods, okay? A learner can challenge you. These learners are exposed. When a learner challenges you and you see, honestly, this is good, that is why a learner becomes exceptional. And when we are scoring, not all learners, by the way, in a school, you can get like only 2 learners who score that E mark. It is only 1 mark.
So in terms of excellency, that I still feel exceptional, that a teacher who does not know what is exceptional will not necessarily be able to score a learner exceptional, when actually this learner is actually exceptional. Now that I'm still looking at it on the side of the teacher. Then we will come back to the side of the learner later on. So I keep on wondering that, there are certain exceptional things. Okay, there are certain things that you look at and you feel like this thing doesn't actually make sense when it's actually exceptional. How will that teacher, what is he carrying or she carrying that will be able to score this learner very well based on those grades?
This CBC, the number one thing that it encourages is teamwork. And when CBC came, teachers used to make fun of these teachers who would part-time, working like in 5 schools. You rush from here to here to here to here. With the new curriculum, it's all about teamwork. As departmentals, people in the department. A learner is not supposed to be scored alone. That is the new curriculum. Like previously, you would get books in the staff room and you mark. No, you're not supposed to score the learner alone. You're supposed to score learners as a department. Yes. So I don't think in schools or in departments, all teachers can fail to see that this is an exception. Apart from that, you remember you're not teaching one learner. You're teaching several learners. You can see that this learner is indeed exceptional. You can see that this learner is whatever this learner is writing, whatever this learner is explaining, whatever this learner is presenting. You even see, we have generic skills. You see learners, how they interact with each other. The new curriculum does not stop with books. Like, you see learners, how do they interact with each other in class? The compound, the dormitories, like the assessment is continuous. From the day the learner steps at school like this, papa, up to the end, you're assessing. You're seeing these learners are built different. Some learners are extremely bright that they even challenge teachers. That is why the old curriculum wasn't favoring them, you know. The old curriculum, the teacher was the only one with knowledge. Yeah? You're not supposed to challenge the teacher. What the teacher says, that's it. But in the new curriculum, the CBC, learners, actually teachers were just supposed to sit there and learn from learners. I've learned a lot from learners. Learners are exposed, learners are intellectual, learners are vibrant, learners know technology, AI, so learners make research, something that you could never imagine, you could never think of. So back to your question, Mr. Wire, you can know, teachers always know that this is a very brilliant idea. This is exceptional. Yes, please.
Like I said, I have some of my friends that are still in high school. They're given like project work. What if that friend of mine brings that project work to me and I do their work for them? How will a teacher assess that?
Thank you. That's what I came. That's what I talked about, presentation. If you do that work for that learner, will you be able to present for the learner as well?
There are people who are naturally gifted in terms of cram work, and so that takes me back. For me personally, even if you did for me work, I could perfectly present it, and without even you knowing that I actually didn't do it, because I will take 1 or 2, 3, 4 days and just look at the concept. Because I normally look at it in a way that there are two categories of people. There are categories of people who cannot present what they didn't do. Okay? And then there are people who are extremely good presenters and very bad doers. So in such kind of a scenario, most probably there could be gap. I will maybe look at it that we could have another discussion and discuss that at depth to see how it goes. But coming back now here, lastly to the teachers, which I've been looking at, and we are saying that, look here, don't you think now with this new thing that now these teachers are becoming very overwhelmed when they now start now that they are actually supervising a big number of students or learners like you mentioned? It's no longer the other way that I'm going to mark and attach marks. Now you are supervising, attaching grades, very many of them. It's like a full administration kind of work.
Thank you. The old curriculum, we used to teach learners one by one, but the CBC learners are grouped. By the way, it's a must. Even when you go to schools, you find learners seated in groups. Yes. So learners are grouped. How are these learners grouped? They don't group themselves. The teachers sit down and say, we are going to get this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. What you said about presentation, that you can be good at presentation, that you can cram, you can be good at presentation, but without work. Someone can do the work and fail to present. Now that's where the group work comes in. Okay? Yeah. And teachers, you're meant to sit and see your learners and you're... Coming back to your question about teachers, yes, the work is quite overwhelming, but it's for the good of learners. The learners are performing, honestly.
Yes, they are performing. Racheal, you see, they are performing, but there's the mental aspects of the teachers. There's the aspect of the teachers breaking down, and say, okay, I'm confused. I'm not so sure. I'm also learning from you, but if I look at it in that way, and then I'm looking at it in a way that most probably these teachers will not probably be able to supervise or help learners in a stream of 1,000 students like it used to be before. So simply meaning right now you have project work for all these learners they book, because that's how for me I'm trying to look at it. So on the side of the teacher before we come to the side of the student or the learners, yes.
Yes.
So that's how I'm looking at it. But I don't know how it works. Most probably you guys who are practically doing it in the field could educate us more, so that we also appreciate what this whole thing is moving. As we are keeping rolling out our children into this new education system, they're also picking up.
I don't think the teachers, the process is overwhelming, as you may say. No, it's actually giving chance to the teachers to know their learners. Eh? Teachers, you get to know your learners. Eh? You get to interact with them. You get to know their weaknesses. You get to know their strengths. You get to know them at depth, you know. You get to understand them. Eh? Something that is beyond classroom. Eh? You get to know, you get to look at a learner and you know, this learner, something is wrong. Eh? These presentations show us a lot. Eh? Discussions show us a lot. Project works. As you're moving around the classroom, we learn a lot. It's not that the teachers are getting overwhelmed, no. Maybe we can say that we get overwhelmed with types of assessments that we are doing. We have continuous assessment items. Continuous assessment, that one I say that it starts the moment a learner steps at school like this. You assess inside school, you assess outside, you assess in class, you assess outside class, everywhere. You have to follow up these learners. We have project work. Yes, project work is there, but it's okay. And then now there are these subjects that never, like mathematics. Yes, mathematics.
So how do you teach mathematics in CBC?
In CBC, real life situations. They use the real life situations.
So
yes.
Those days they will tell x, y plus
find
b
x,
equals
and
to
then
8.
you look for
so right
x.
So you're looking for x. So right now I'm just trying to imagine the current CBC. How do they assess me in my mathematics in terms of x is equals to?
I have 2 apples and I take one. Is it something like that?
Well, it is more practical. It's known that. Let me first take you like to geography. Geography, where they used to study about
Canadian prairies.
you know those Canadian prairies. They were all scrapped off the syllabus. They were scrapped off. It is now something practical, real life. Can learners see and understand? I was talking about English. You said about nouns. What would nouns help you? Now they teach about identity crisis. Do learners know who they are? Do you know that I'm a boy, I'm supposed to do what boys do? I'm a girl, I'm supposed to do what girls do in English language, you know? So you look at things like food. You know, some learners don't even know how to cook. We give them recipes. Can a learner give you a recipe for, let's say for...
They no longer write essays.
They no longer, yes, they do a little creative writing where a learner can think, and write something. But I'm talking about real life situations. Critical thinkers that when, God forbid, when life fails, when a learner drops out of school, let's say the learner has finished senior 4 and they have no money to take them to A level or to any institution, can they use that knowledge they got from school to survive? Okay, can a learner say, I learned about food, cooking. Can I start up a restaurant? Can I go and start cooking somewhere? Can I do this and that? You know, that is all about the
When I was in high school, we had 2 curriculums. They used to teach us these class things, the English, the math, but they also had added this other curriculum where we did tailoring, we did catering, bricklaying, all those things outside of class. Is it the same case or that's different? Because we had those 2 curriculums. Because I also know how to sew clothes, because we used to do double. You go to class, then after class you go and sew. After class you go for catering classes. Is it that?
I think it was part of the curriculum. It was part of the curriculum where that curriculum had how many? Over 20 subjects, where we had home economics, bricklaying, you know those practical, they're not two curriculums. It is one curriculum, yeah. But how was it taught to you, is what matters, okay? Maybe you would, it's good that you say that you would go into practical, clothes.
Cooking.
Now that knowledge is what is into the CBC. It is kind of, no, it's not joint. It's not joint. It's not like there were two curriculums and then they were joined. No, that was the old curriculum, okay? Where you used to be taught, and thank God that used to be taught tailoring. It was part. It was part because those were the subjects that were included in that old curriculum.
Those tailoring courses that we usually had, they're usually trained in vocational schools, but we also had them, we used to do both of those curriculums. We go to class, and after class we go and start making clothes. Others go bricklaying, others go learn catering. That's how we use.
Well, I don't think those subjects are taught in, were taught in the, no. I think you just got to be lucky to be in one of those schools that that had both inclusivity, that taught both. Because there were some schools that could teach bricklaying, you know. So those are not two curriculums. It is one curriculum. It's just that it had very many subjects, okay? So that knowledge is what is brought into the old curriculum, okay? Learners are taught, I have a colleague, he teaches biology. I saw him teaching learners how to do what? How to prepare local brew, Mara, in class. And the learners went outside. Actually, the activity of integration. Activity of integration is like this exercise. It's not an exercise. It is an activity given to the learners after a topic. It's a must. Every after a topic, you must give these learners a what? An activity of integration. You mark them. You score them. You score them following that race: relevancy, accuracy, coherence, and yes, exception. So,
because for us, I remember in class we used to just study theory things. After your theory work,
now that's the shift that we are talking about.
You just go back home.
Okay.
That's the shift
I'll be happy to discuss and see how some of these subjects are taught. How you teach mathematics, how you teach biology, how you teach like that. So now let's go to grading. There's this thing called grading.
Before we go to grading,
yes.
I have another question.
Oh, please.
Primary students, they are still in the old curriculum.
No.
They're also on the new.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Primary students,
They're
new
also
curriculum. Actually, they're the ones that began with it, and it came to secondary, and we are hoping that it's going to set to university. It started, yes.
Am I the one saying no? Because my siblings still have that old curriculum.
Not really.
Not really.
You haven't been well observant. You haven't been well observant. Though it's a bit different. The primary new curriculum is different from the secondary new curriculum. Yeah. But it's so different. You need to be yes. You should.
Okay. So I was picking up something very interesting about the grading system. The last time I read a newspaper and I saw the last exam that were released, there was these A, B, C, D, E, and I was actually a bit surprised. And then we were used to this kind of thing, the distinction 1, D2, A, for you to be able to know whether your child passed or your child did not pass. But then people got perturbed. Now the question is, what's this grading thing about? And with the current confusion that is happening, I had someone say that seems everyone passed.
Yes, that's what I
Then I'm like, then who are those ones who failed? And then how do you know that my child passed or did not pass? So most probably maybe if we could focus some of the discussion on how this grading is happening and what's the shift from the previous grading system to the current one, and yeah, it's something that
Parents were used to division.
yeah, those kind of things.
Some
Yes.
parents used not even understand the distinction 1 and distinction 2.
Yes,
And then they've added on this A, B, C, D.
I had gone to a certain school with a colleague, and we found, actually it was, coincidentally the results had been released, the senior 4 results had been released, and all learners had result 1. And when and when my colleague saw the results, she said, all of them first grade. So result 1, okay, the new curriculum, learners, we take it that learners are not all that failures. Like old curriculum, we used to have F9, 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 but that learner would write something.
You're giving them comfort.
No, it's not comfort. No, it is not comfort. These learners have certain abilities that cannot be seen. Only in classwork. That's why
that cannot be seen in reproducing crammed work. That's what
crammed
you're saying.
work,
Okay.
crammed work, and then writing papers, and then you ask for papers and paragraphs. You even scare your friends. No. That's so. The new curriculum, we look at other issues. How does this learner interact with the society? Let's talk about the hygiene of this learner. Let's talk about the communication skills. Is this learner willing to communicate? I know you guys, you studied with some of your colleagues who had this spoken English. That good, nice spoken English, and then they would speak nice accents, but they wouldn't even write that. Would you consider that a failure? Honestly, would you consider that learner a failure? No. That learner is good in something else.
So then how do you grade? So let's assume now we are grading from the distinction 1 and then the D1 to the current, maybe, I don't know, maybe A. I don't even know what it means, or B. So A from A to whatever, B to...
We grade from A to E. A, B, C, D, E. Let me begin with E. When a learner is given an E, that means a learner is basic. Not bad. A learner is what? Basic. Ish. And then D, the learner is satisfactory. Yes, fair enough.
It is okay. The work is fine.
Oh, sorry. I want to begin with A. A is exceptional. The learner is exceptional. A is good. You look at a learner and you're like, yes, this is good. Okay. And then B, the learner is outstanding. Not exceptional. Outstanding is good. Not very good. Okay. It's outstanding. It's outstanding out of the many. And then C, we have satisfactory. You're good to go. The learner has said something. The learner has written something. You're satisfied. Has written something. You're satisfied, Rugamba. We are good to go. I want to say something. And then D, we have D is basic. The learner is a surface. Surface, like tagenze into depth. That is the basic learner. And then lastly, E, elementary. An elementary learner is that learner that, I think with the old curriculum would say that is that has failed. But we don't use failure. We don't use those words in the new curriculum. We don't want to motivate these learners. We want to give them.
I would like to know about those in detail. Most probably, we would love to host you again. At my PhD level, when they grade you in your research and say that for you to be able to move on, you should be score satisfactory, and satisfactory starts with 90. So I'm just confused. So if you scored anything below 90 in your research work, then it's graded unsatisfactory. Yeah, and then if
More
you
like
have,
you failed.
yes, most probably that this is not good enough. And then when you have 90 and above, it is satisfactory. Now from what this new grading systems we look now, they are saying we have A, the outstanding, no, exceptional, and then we have B, outstanding, and then we have C, satisfactory.
Satisfactory.
Then I'm saying now if I picked this kind of grading of mine at doctoral level to put it in there, and I'm only fitting at satisfactory, but most probably it's the kind of way of thinking. So very interesting, and most probably maybe that's why the different generations are having different confusion in terms of this grading system. And I would really love to learn more and dig deeper and see, because simply meaning most probably right now I'm not in the right state of mind or state of knowledge to be able to educate or guide my child who is out there, or a colleague, and say, man, this way. And that's what most parents out there are actually struggling with. Most probably, Racheal will have loved to host you in very many more discussions, just to try to unpack this whole thing and get to know. Yes, I've seen people out there trying to guide people, parents, teachers, and even sometimes the learners themselves. Most probably we could unpack, but it looks like it's a very interesting syllabus, a good one, most probably better than what
It's
we
engaging.
had. But now the problem is how it is packaged out there, and it on top of how the package is and how it is actually implemented.
But for that person that is in the E-level, most parents back in the day would want them to go into the vocational area.
Yes, vocationals are good. A learner would go, because a learner with an E definitely cannot get a combination at A level. Assuming a learner has E. Of course, a learner cannot get a combination at A level. And most schools also consider A, B to give you a combination. If, say, you want mathematics at A level and you have a C, some schools don't consider it. You are talking about 90 marks and numbers. The new curriculum, we don't give marks.
Then that is where I have the problem. So
we
if
could
a
give
school,
marks, but they differ.
so
you know?
so without the marks, and then a certain school still wakes up in the morning and say that because you have a C, I cannot give you this particular subject. Then simply meaning that the mentality behind the schools is still dealing with the old syllabus, old curriculum, when you have actually moved on. Why? That from the learnings I have picked today, it's simply meaning that each learner at least has something that can be able to produce and reproduce out there. That even with C not being exceptional, I could be able to produce something at whatever combination I'll be able to do out there. Even if I was not outstanding on it, I could still be able to fit in. Why do I say that? Right now, I am most probably 10, 15 years after university. The most successful people I have met in the field are not the people who got the first classes, are not the people who got the first class, second uppers. For me, I did BCom at. The people who are actually successful and the best managers out there were these people who are middle. For me, I've seen them, I have met them in boardrooms, I've met them in offices, and they're the people who are running.
That's what
Without
I'm saying.
favor, yes.
That a learner might get an E in all subjects, but get an A in project work.
That's,
You
and
see
then,
what I'm saying?
So my disagreement is, that and then when these schools are giving combinations, you understand, they should not be able to look at the number of E's. Yes, it is like, okay, at least I am able to reproduce something in the project work, and that means that I can be. So meaning that when a candidate goes out there at A level, then it should also be not too much of subject combination.
No, excuse me. The project work is not attached to the subjects. Okay, if a learner gets an E, in all subjects and performs well in the project work, what will the learner do in A-level? That is not project work, okay? So the project work is, themes are sent by the Ministry of Education for the learners to partake, you know. Yes, they can be about geography, they can be about physics, anything. Eh? So when a learner passes project work and fails the subject, the learner, honestly, what combination will you give them? Because what will that learner do in A-level? That project work is a blessing alone for that learner to go somewhere else.
Practically.
To go into something more practical in life.
Practically, I still believe, Racheal and Belinda, that from my experience, from university, these people who are actually below certain level of their academic performance have been extremely outstanding with the practical life.
That's where the CBC is coming. That's
now,
what
with the
I was telling you.
with the CBC, why I'm disagreeing with the selection at A level, it's simply meaning that if you are going to select these students based on how many A's they have done, or they have gotten, or how many outstandings they have, you have still taken them back to the old, as much as it's not the grading system, you've still taken back to the old selection. I would have felt that the candidates should be taken in still based on their ability to do, meaning that even a C is not fail, even an E is not necessarily what? Fail.
Then you're
meaning
doing a disservice to this learner. You're doing a disservice to this learner.
That's what I would want us to discuss more
Honestly,
in detail again.
That means you're doing a disservice to this learner. A learner has shown you that they have done KAIs, they've done KAI, they've done activities of integration, they've done everything. The teachers observed them ever since they joined senior 1. But still the learner has got an E. And you still enforce a certain subject onto that learner.
Not enforcing.
Is it that disservice?
Allowing that learner to take.
And you still allow the learner.
Yes, in my closing remark. The person who discovered the law of gravity never passed any class. But it is, however, gravity existed, right? Actually, gravity existed, but we never knew about it. But this so-called dumps kind of candidate who never, or student who never passed, still was able to tell us there was something called what? Gravity and all those kind of things. So I think Racheal, I need to interact with you more to understand this component, that this selection, we are not imposing on the learner that go and do mathematics. You say the learner wakes up in the morning and say, me, I can be able to do this. You understand? Because the new grading system does not say that when I've been graded like this, I cannot be able to do it. Yeah? And as much as, like you're saying, we are still opening our brains and our heads, that kid at that level of keeping learning. Yeah? As long as you've not reached a certain age of where you cannot learn and learn something new, simply meaning that by the time I got A level, there's still room to do what? To open. And so I want to have that discussion in our next podcast and all discussion to try to find out that, don't you think that the schools should change the mentality of awarding places to these candidates who are being graded using the CBC and not necessarily the other one? Say, we are only going to take, I'm not going to mention the schools for sensitivity purposes. There are those so-called traditional schools, those big schools. They still wake up in the morning and still say, for us, we are only taking A, B, 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 B. Still, you are taking it back to the other scenario that people who have gotten between 16 points and above are the only one who can come to the school. So as much as the learning system has changed, the mentality of the educational institutions has not changed to help these learners, whom we're saying that at least they have something to offer and put on table. I would like to have this discussion. I submit.
But better still, I still insist on the CBC. That I think, just as you've said, I think we need to go into depth about this. Because people out there are failing to understand well this CBC. I'm sorry, I know we are time bound, but a learner to be given an E or a D. Remember, these learners, the new curriculum does not encourage repeating class. No, automatic promotion. The moment you join senior 1,
You're going.
so a learner to get an E, that means that learner, that E was seen as early as senior 1 first term.
Okay.
You know? So I don't blame schools that consider A's, B's, and C's, and that's that. It is actually the new curriculum. Let me tell you something about the new curriculum. The new curriculum is bridging the gap. It's bridging the gap between those big schools and the the low schools. You know, learners are performing exceptionally. You know, so well. Those learners, the learners that are in the villages, the learners that are in those bad, poor schools, they're performing so well compared to these big schools. Why? Because a CPC has given learners to express their talents, to show their talents, their abilities, thinking, practical skills, and they're making it big, honestly. So the CBC is here to stay. I know some schools have failed to embrace it. They still teach, they still give learners notes, but what they should know is that they're doing a disservice to these learners. They're not giving chance to these learners to think. Right? They're not giving these learners to communicate. Learners are learning to communicate. Learners are learning to listen, to communicate, to speak, to discuss. You're seeing learners doing debates, these crossfires. Those are new curriculum products. A learner reasons, debates and speaks. But we used to debate. The debate, chairman, the jury, opposers and proposers. But now the debate, it is crossfire. Children reason. Children, we have negators, we have affirmative. They speak. Okay, that is all because of the new curriculum. So, Mr. Will, the new curriculum is here to stay.
Thank you so much for hosting. The hosting you've done to Madam Racheal and Belinda. Thank you so much for coming. I look forward to inviting you again to discuss that component.
Please.
And I am sure I will make my point, go home. I still have some question marks for us to discuss. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you too.